Hi, welcome back to my channel. I'm gonna do a tag today. I don't think I've ever done a tag video before, but I've seen this one doing the rounds on a couple of different people's channels, and it just was really interested me to watch other people's, so I thought I would get involved and I would do it too. And the tag that I am going to be doing is the controversial parenting tag. Now, I am not particularly one to sit on a fence about stuff, and I do tend to have an opinion about most things, like most people do, but I'm not somebody that would push my opinions onto other people. So I do tend to have quite strong opinions about things to do with parenting, because parenting matters to me, and I think that most parents have strong opinions about most things because it matters to us. But that doesn't mean that I judge other people's the way that they do things. I know that should be obvious, right? But I feel like I need to put this disclaimer in here now and kind of say, just because I think something doesn't mean that I think there's anything wrong with the way that you are doing it. I kind of think, live and let live. We are all doing a damn hard job bringing up these kiddos, so we just have to do what works for us. But let's get stuck straight in with these kind of issues, and okay, we'll see how we're going. Right, the first one is pro-life versus pro-choice. This is a pretty easy one for me. I'm definitely pro-choice. I feel like women should have the right to make decisions about things concerning their bodies, and I don't feel like anybody else should have the right to make those decisions for them. Saying that, I do think that it needs to be looked at on a case-by-case basis. So I think there are so many valid reasons that women should be able to have abortions and not be questioned or made to feel bad for those decisions. You know, medical reasons, emotional reasons, there are so many reasons why. But on the flip side of that, I think that as we are now kind of keeping premature babies alive younger and younger and younger, I think it's really important that they make that distinction between the point where they can keep babies alive and the point where they won't abort after, if that makes sense. So I'm definitely pro-choice, but on a case-by-case basis. So people that are going to use abortion as a form of birth control, no. People that are having abortions for legitimate reasons, you know, emotional, medical, health, any of those reasons, absolutely 100% pro-choice. The next one is baby wearing. There's not really a kind of verses in this one. I'm guessing it would be baby wearing versus buggies. I didn't do any baby wearing with Dylan whatsoever. I'm not really quite sure why. Just didn't really feel like it was my bag. I did do some baby wearing with Everly, and she was probably the one that I wore the most. I had her in a carrier quite a lot when she was little because she was quite clingy and quite needy. I thought I was going to do a lot of baby wearing with Quinn because she's a third baby, and I figured I'd be so busy and I would need to wear her to be able to get stuff done. But actually she's a pretty chilled out kid, and she always quite liked sitting in a bouncy chair, so I never really did it particularly when she was little. But I do love it. There are definitely occasions where putting her in a carrier is far superior to putting her in the buggy. Normally times when it's just not convenient to take a buggy places, like if you're going on a real kind of outdoorsy kind of walk or those sorts of things, I tend to prefer to baby carry. But most of the time she tends to prefer to be in her buggy, and I quite like the buggy because I can load it up with all the crap that you have to carry around when you're a mum. Circumcision. So I think maybe this tag has kind of started in America, because I feel like circumcision is much more of a thing over there. It's not standard practice here. I wouldn't circumcise my children unless there was a medical need to do so, but I kind of think he was born with that skin for a reason. I mean, I know that in America a lot of people do choose to circumcise and it's done for health reasons, but I think it's kind of since been sort of disproved as not really making any particular difference. So yeah, I wouldn't circumcise personally. I just feel like it's unnecessary. Okay, the next one, adoption. What are my thoughts on adoption? I think it's amazing. I think it's not blood that makes a family, it's love that makes a family. And I think people that open their homes and their arms and their hearts to children that don't have that through blood and naturally is amazing. I just think it's an incredible gift. While I was teaching, I was lucky enough to have some contact with a family that did fostering, and they were fostering and they were planning to adopt a baby that they were fostering, and that baby came home with them from hospital as a newborn because that baby's mother was not in a fit state to look after her, and that baby was going straight into their care. And I think, look at this cat photobombing me. I think the fact that they could do that was incredible, and I think it's amazing. And there's an amazing vlogger that, if you don't already know her, Jules Furness, who is also an adoptive mother, and it feels ridiculous to even put the word adoptive before mother because she is Josh's mother. Full stop. She's amazing, and I think that she does a fantastic job of really normalising that adoption journey for a lot of people. So definitely check her channel out if you haven't already. Baby piercing. No. Just no. I guess a little bit like the circumcision thing earlier, I know that some people do it for cultural reasons, but again, a little bit like the circumcision, I just feel like it's unnecessary pain for what gain? I think with ear piercing, that's going to be purely for vain reasons. I actually had my ears pierced when I was quite young. I don't know if it was maybe, like my mum said that she went with her friend and she didn't even really think twice about it, but she said that if I was a baby now, there is no way she would take me to have my ears pierced as young as I was. But she said, you know, they kind of figured that I was quite little. I think I was at nursery, like I think I was about to start school, and I think I had them done then. I'm sorry if I got that one wrong, Mum, but I was very little. And to be fair, it didn't bother me. I don't remember it happening, I don't remember it hurting. I kind of quite like the fact that I don't remember having to go through the pain of having it done. That said, I basically never wear earrings, so probably given the choice, I wouldn't have bothered. Okay, the next one, breast milk versus formula milk. I feel like the whole breast versus bottle debate is so boring. It's stupid. Like, it's not a debate. I feel like debating about it is silly because everybody knows that in a perfect world, breast milk is better. Everybody knows that it is better. But breastfeeding is not always better for everybody. So for me, breastfeeding and breast milk have been very much a part of our journey. None of my children have had any formula because I wanted to breastfeed, and I have been very lucky to be able to breastfeed. Don't get me wrong, it's hard work, but I also know that with all three of mine, I have had a relatively easy journey with it. I haven't had any mega obstacles to overcome. So I know that we've been very lucky. But if I'd needed to use formula, brilliant. Like, we live in a world where our children can be given a replacement for breast milk if it's not available. Fantastic. Like, who gives the monkeys? As long as your baby is fed and you are happy with that method, don't feel guilty about it. Don't feel like you're amazing because you've breastfed. You are amazing because you've breastfed, but you're not superior to people that haven't. And if you haven't breastfed, who cares? You're doing an amazing job looking after a tiny human. It is not easy. Well done. But I mean, what does it say on the list? Actually, it's not breast milk. It's not breastfeeding versus bottle feeding. It's breast milk versus formula. In that argument, I think nobody could argue that formula is better than breast milk. But breastfeeding and bottle feeding, to me, like whatever works for you, whatever makes you happy. Right, the next one is smacking. So I feel very firmly on this one that I do not and would not ever smack my children. I feel like for me, being a parent is about leading by example. So I always need to be something that my children can look up to and think that is how I should do it. So I don't feel like in good conscience I could tell my children not to hit each other and then as a form of punishment when they were naughty hit them, because how does that make sense? I can't say to my children, when you're annoyed with each other, you need to talk about it, you need to explain, you need to step away and have some time out from each other. I can't explain that and then model something completely differently in my own behaviour. I feel like this world is a nasty enough place without having to deal with violence as a punishment like that. I also feel like when I was teaching, I looked after 30 children. I dealt with 30, sometimes, you know, half of those could be difficult, pushing my buttons, they could have all sorts of different behaviour going on, and I did that every single day without ever needing to hit any of them. So if I could do that with 30 children, there is absolutely no conceivable reason to me why I would need to hit my children when I'm only dealing with 3 of them. That's my take on it. I know that when I was little, if I was naughty, we used to get the threat of a smacked bottom. My mum, I've spoken to her about this, she reckons that she could count the amount of times she actually smacked us on one hand. The threat of it was enough. And I think, you know, times have changed a little bit. I think we know a little bit more about psychology and children and what makes them tick, and I don't feel awkwardly about the fact that I had a smack when I was little, but there is no way that I would do that to my children. Okay, home versus public versus private schooling. My children go to public school. They will continue to go to public school. I went to public school. I was a really bright, hard-working kid the whole way through school. I went to the roughest secondary school in our town, and I still came out with grades that were fine. I am the kind, I think if you've been brought up with the kind of values that you're going to work hard wherever you go. I don't know whether if I had the money, I know that if I had the money, I wouldn't send my children rather at primary school. I might consider private school for secondary school, only because I feel like secondary school is so much more moulding for your whole life. I kind of feel like primary school shouldn't necessarily be about that kind of push. When it comes to homeschooling, I do have opinions on homeschooling. Actually, I have quite strong opinions on homeschooling. I don't have anything against homeschooling. I think homeschooling is brilliant. I know some people that do some amazing jobs at homeschooling. I also think that some people that do homeschooling are letting their children down. This is why it's called the controversial tag, hey? Basically because I am a trained teacher. I have a degree and then a postgraduate degree that qualifies me to teach children between the ages of 4 and 11, and there is no way I would homeschool my children out of choice. I would do it out of necessity. I did say that there were some particular schools locally that if we'd been allocated those for Dylan, that I would have kept him at home and homeschooled him, because I just didn't particularly like the schools, but there was no way I would do it out of choice. But I also think that homeschooling is fine in certain circumstances, but school is about so much more than education. It's about those steps out into the world on their own. It's about being able to make their own decisions. It's about autonomy and independence, and I don't see how you can fully facilitate those if you are homeschooling. I'm happy to be told I'm wrong, by the way. If you're a homeschooler, please explain to me how you are helping your children do those, because I just see the things that Dylan has learned as a person from being at school. He's learned tons academically, which I know I could have taught him from home, but there are certain skills that I know, even as a teacher, I couldn't have taught him at home under my care. He needed to go out and do that. He needed to do that alongside his peers in a lovely big group. So yeah, that's my thoughts on homeschooling. I feel like this is the first one where I've got like maybe a bit potentially controversial. Right, anyway, let me find out what the next point is. Vaccinations. I have vaccinated my children for all the standard childhood vaccinations. I feel like, yeah, vaccinations aren't fun for the kids. They're painful, like they do make them a bit poorly, but that's always better than the alternative, always. I know there are a lot of people now, and the kind of anti-vax movement is growing, but I feel like I owe it to my children to protect them from those things. And I also really get behind that whole herd mentality, because I taught 2 children while I was teacher who couldn't be vaccinated for medical reasons, and they were very reliant on everybody else being vaccinated to protect them. So vaccination isn't always just about you, it's about everybody, and it's sometimes about thinking about the bigger picture. So I have vaccinated my children for everything, because I know that a bruised arm and a raised temperature is 100 times better than meningitis or measles or polio or the umpteen things that they are being protected from by having those vaccines. Medicating children, is that kind of part of vaccinating? I mean, I'm not one that rushes to give medicine. I do tend to try and see, I'm like, I don't know what they're getting at. Are they getting at like over medicating? Are they talking about like people that give their kids Puritan to help them sleep? Because that was a bit of a thing at one time, wasn't it? I don't know. Anyway, no, I basically give my kids Calpol if they need it. Kind of consider the Nurofen to be like the hard stuff, and they only have that if the Calpol hasn't worked, really. Yeah, I feel like a bit like vaccinations, like I wouldn't ever not medicate my children if they were poorly. Like, who wants to sit and watch their kids suffer? That's never going to be fun. But I'm not one that rushes to the doctors for antibiotics at the drop of a hat. Our children, in fact, hardly ever go to the doctors. Yeah, I just kind of feel like they have what they need when they need it, but I don't think I over medicate them, and I don't think I give them any medication that is not necessary. Cloth versus disposable nappies. I kind of wish I'd done the cloth thing, because having had 3 kids, if we'd done the cloth thing with Dylan, we'd have saved loads of money by now. And I also, it doesn't sit happily with me. I do feel guilty about the amount of nappies over the years that we have sent to landfill that take whatever it is, like 500 years to biodegrade. But we do disposable nappies. When we had Dylan and Everly, and when Ashlyn was tiny, we lived in a flat. We had no outside space to dry washing. We had a washer dryer, so everything had to be done in the one machine. Our washing, if we hung it out on air, it took like 2 to 3 days to dry. There is just no way I physically could have managed washing disposable nappies, washing reusable nappies. It just wouldn't have worked. And by the time we'd moved, like, Quinn doesn't really she's not having like umpteen nappies a day anymore. She'll sort of have 4 or 5 nappies maybe in 24 hours. And at this point, I don't feel like it's worth investing in cloth diapers, because I'm hoping that she'll be potty trained in the next sort of 6 to 12 months. So it doesn't really seem worth it at this point. But I love those reusable nappies. They're so cute, they're lovely. And if I were to have another baby, I think I'd really seriously consider investing in cloth, because yeah, I do feel guilty about the whole landfill thing. And I think this is the last one. Yep, cry it out method. So I'm guessing they're sort of talking about sleep training. I don't like cry it out, because cry it out is just basically about leaving your baby to scream until they fall asleep. I have done sleep training with, did controlled crying sleep training with Everly, because she got to a point where I knew she was waking up out of habit and she was a rat bag because she was not getting enough sleep. It was having a knock-on effect on everybody. And as much as sleep training isn't particularly fun while you're in it, I do think that sleep is really important. Children need to get enough sleep to learn, and they need to get enough sleep to grow, and parents need enough sleep so that they are good parents and they are not miserable and grumpy and ratty. And I feel like sometimes children have to be taught how. It's like anything that you with kids, like they have to be taught how to do it. So I felt like we got to a point with Everly when she was about 9 months old where I was like, we need to teach this girl how to go to sleep. She needs to not fall asleep attached to my boob or attached to us. She needs to go to sleep on her own. And we did do controlled crying, and we had one night where we did the whole left her to cry for 5 minutes, went in, came out, left her to cry for 5 minutes, went in, came out, blah, blah, blah. I think the first night it took her about half an hour of us keep popping back in to go to sleep. Second night was about 10 minutes. Third night she'd cracked it. So as much as it wasn't very nice that first night and it felt horrible to be kind of leaving her to cry for 5 minutes. 5 minutes in the scheme of things is not that long, and the end game was what I clung on to, and it worked mercifully quickly for her. Dylan didn't need sleep training, and neither has Quinn. We did think we might have to sleep train her because she was a fantastic sleeper as a baby, and then she went through a bit of a blip when she was about, I don't know, about 8, 9 months maybe. She started going through this blip and she got awkward. But I think that was because she was sharing a room with us, because we moved out of our room temporarily and then we've moved house, and now she sleeps more than 12 hours. So we didn't need to do anything with her. She did it herself. I don't have a problem with sleep training. Like I said, I think sometimes it's just a skill that we have to teach kids. But I wouldn't do cry out, and I would only do kind of crying but based. See, that sounds horrible. We tried other stuff with Everly and it just didn't work. And like I said, it worked after 2 nights, and I think probably if it hadn't worked after 2 nights I'd have given up, but it did, and it worked really quickly and it worked for us. So that's my feeling on it. I need my sleep, so, and my children need their sleep, and everybody is happier all round when there's plenty of sleep going on. So that was the controversial parenting tag. I'm not going to tag anybody specific in this one, mainly because I feel like I've used up all my brain cells with all that controversy, and I can't think of anybody specific to tag in it now. But I would love to know your thoughts, and I would love you to leave me a comment if you've done this, so I can come and see what you think about any of these issues. And I am going to leave it there for today. Thank you so much for watching and hanging in there with me and listening to me ramble on about all sorts of random issues. If you've enjoyed this video and you are not already subscribed, please subscribe. I would absolutely love you forever if you would subscribe to my channel. That would be brilliant. And if you want to give me a like or share me with your friends or leave me a comment or just generally leave me some love, that would be great too. And I will see you in my next video very soon. Bye.